Today we are reporting on a teenager who has shaved his head for charity and has been put into isolation. Stan cut his hair to Barbara's #1 in order to raise money for cancer charity Macmillan. However, this went against the school rules of no haircuts below Barbara's #2 and he was immediately put into isolation.
Some people argue that this is fair as he has disobeyed school policy for uniform and this rule is stated clearly. Many people also question his method of raising money, as there are plenty of other options he could have chosen from. An ex-student at County High and now a sixth former, Tim, stated that he would expect to be put into isolation if he had shaved his head to a barber's #1 or below for charity during term time, as the rules are stated really clearly.
On the other hand, many people may see this punishment as an unfair act of discipline as he was raising money and awareness for a charity deeply in need. Perhaps Stan chose this method to sympathise with cancer patients as during chemotherapy, an after effect is the loss of hair. We interviewed the deputy head teacher at Saffron Walden County High and here's what she had to say.
What would you do if they didn't talk to you about this first?
So they came into school with their head shaved?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really, really difficult one. If they had done it for charity, I really hope that they would have talked to us beforehand. If they hadn't, I think I'd have to look at why they hadn't. If it had just been that they'd forgotten to, or somebody else knew but I didn't, then that would affect my judgment on what happened. I mean, the difficulty is that most schools, like ours, have got a rule that says if you shave your head, and that's against the school rules, and those rules have been in place for a long, long time, so students know those. So if someone shaved their head and deliberately did it to break the rules, then they would need to be punished. If they'd done it forgetting that there's a rule there, I hope that I'd be able to talk with them and we'd be able to say, you shouldn't have done that. If you do it again, then we will punish you. But it seems a bit unfair when someone's done it for charity and has raised a lot of money to then put them in isolation. But I can see why the school did that, because clearly the boy in question had broken the school rules, hadn't he?
Here's an interview with Miss Weston, the head of Year 8. What would you do if a student at this school shaved their head for charity?
That's a really hard question because obviously it depends how kind of short their hair was shaven. If it was like completely gone, the official punishment is obviously isolation, but it would be disappointing if they hadn't come and discussed it with me first, because if it's for charity it's for a really good cause, and obviously we want to promote kind of acts for charity and trying to raise money for charity, and this school in particular does do a lot to raise money for charity.
Churchill Academy has said that they will consider changing the rules. So if you were in charge of that, would you change the rules of their length of hair?
I guess it depends if it's just to do with shaving your head or whether it is any extreme haircut. The difficulty is that part of being at school and part of our kind of purpose is to prepare you for work. And there are many industries and institutions like banks or something like that in the city that won't allow for extreme haircuts or kind of you think about extreme colours of hair. And I know absolutely because I've had a discussion with my friends about it who work in the city. We had quite a heated debate and they do care about appearances. Rightly or wrongly, they do care about things like nose studs or facial piercings or bright pink hair, because if you're working with clients and you're representing the industry or that bank or that company or whatever it is, then you have to create a good impression.
This story hit social media rapidly due to its controversial views that managed to boost the awareness and money raised. Therefore, the punishment could be seen as a main factor of how much money had been raised for the charity Macmillan.
Overall, in January 2015, over £4,000 has been raised, but now that has gone up to £17,000. The money is going to a good cause to help those deeply in need.